Speak to this? Cool. All those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you very much. Right, we'll move on to item 9. This is plan change operative. Got Dave here. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a procedural item to make plan change 8T operative. Plan change 8T was some changes that were made to the regional policy statement coming out of the national policy statement on urban development. It introduces the concept of well-functioning urban environment. It introduced some material on qualifying matters to support the Plan Change 78 work, and it also introduced some a little bit more on climate change and resilience to the effects of climate change. We had one appeal to the plan change, but that appeal was subsequently withdrawn, so we can now bring Plan Change 8T forward as it was recommended by Council. Or the decision was adopted by Council, and we can now recommend it for adoption. That's in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. So yes, end of the process here. So not a lot of need for question or debate. So I'm happy to move. Sorry, if there are there any questions though? Good. Okay, thanks, Dave. We'll get you to step back. I don't think there'll be debate, but I'm happy to move. Seconder, Councillor Fletcher would like to second. Any comment on this? No? Perfect. All those in favour? Thank you. Right, next up we have item 10. We have our Māori Outcomes report. Kia ora, Marina and Mike. If you'd just like to introduce yourselves before you go into the item, thank you very much. We've got the presentation ready to go. Kia ora.
Mihi maira ki a koutou katoa, mihi atu ki a koe he mana Councillor Hills, he mana tuarua Councillor Dalton, ki a kōrua o tēnā kōrua ki ngā mema haukura. Mihi maira ki a tātou katoa. Ko Marina Matthews, tōku ingoa. I'm the Manager Insights and Strategy of Ngā Mātarai. I'm he uria o Ngāti Kahu me Ngāti Tūwharetoa, but ngō mirihuku hoki, so I roll my R's just as an excuse. But I'm joined today by Mike Hennessy, who is the Senior Communications Manager, Advisor in Ngā Mātarai, and I understand that our tūmoaki Huanga Māori, Nick Turua, will be joining us online, as well as Richard Court, who is the Program Manager of Ngā Mātarai and responsible for Māori Outcomes Fund and that review, should we need them. So we're here today just to highlight or showcase some of the success stories that are in the annual report for the Māori Outcomes. So we have copies of the hard copy report that will be placed on your floor for all of you to have, and the report, and also a collection of videos that had been commissioned by Councillor Leone for Māori Outcomes will be shared publicly on our website following this hui. So this is the 6th edition of the Māori Outcomes Annual Report. The report focuses on the 10 mana outcomes that are in Kia ora Tamaki Makaurau, and also looks at some of the projects and the programs that are funded through the Māori Outcomes Fund. So all of the good news stories that are in here are not just funded through the Māori Outcomes Fund, which is 1% of all of Auckland Council's funding, but also from other initiatives that lead towards Māori outcomes. Just a reminder that we had commissioned an impact evaluation earlier in the year, which we had briefed the governing board and Haukura on. and that encompassed 6 initiatives that received Māori outcomes funding. One of the things about that particular evaluation is that it looks at the impacts of the fund. While it didn't necessarily provide any recommendations or suggestions for the Māori Outcome Fund review, there are some considerations that we have to include in the Māori Outcome Fund review, which include strengthening partnerships with mana whenua and mātāwaka, as well as local communities, to ensure that our funding investments are aligned with our community needs and aspirations. So just a quick overview of the performance of the Māori Outcome Fund for 2023-2024. We spent 95% of the Māori Outcomes Fund last year, which was a significant, we've said the word massive, reduction, but a significant increase in expenditure. So it's up from the, I think it was 61% that was had been spent in the previous year. We now have, thanks to the LTP 2024-2034, an increase of funding of 21 million, taking the Māori Outcomes Fund to 171 million. So the review of the fund will help us inform us about that expenditure. So just to highlight some of the initiatives, or one of the initiatives that is in the outcomes report, we've had a successful program with Mātātahi Taiao, which is a rangatahi-led initiative dedicated to developing climate resilient solutions. This particular project, they're currently working, it says up there, with 2 marae, but that was when we produced the report. They're now working with 4 marae on ways to use and utilise energy within an environmental stewardship type of way. Finally, I just wanted to highlight, I've said to the governing board and Haukura, and as well as my colleague Nick Turoa, that Ngā Mātarai has quite a full work program, which we will be covering off in the next annual report. So that includes the recommendations from He Waka Kotuia and how we're addressing those. Also includes the strengthening and resetting of relationships with mana whenua and mātāwaka. We also will be informed by Haukura's own schedule of issues of significance, which is due for publication at the beginning of next year, as well as having all departments within Auckland Council having achieving Māori outcome or AMO plans, and working closely with CCOs on their AMO plans as well. So maybe I'm just preempting, watch out for the next year's annual report. Kia ora.
Great, kia ora. Thank you very much. I know that Councillor Leone, I think, would like to move this. Yeah, and a seconder, Councillor Dalton. Thank you. Right, we have a question from Councillor Dalton, then Councillor Leone. Thank you.
Yep. Tēnā koroa. Thank you for what you achieve on 1% of the budget and how you leverage that. So much for partnership, right? My question for you, and it might not be for you, so redirect me if you need to. Some amazing achievements here. I wondered if we are going to be putting in a submission on the Treaty Principles Bill.
Kia ora, and maybe to answer that, look, we're ready and waiting to support a submission if this committee, if it's the will of the committee, if that's what you want to do. We thought we would obviously wait, and I think it's being introduced or the first reading today. So once we understand the timeframes and know what the bill says, it could be an opportunity for you to confirm whether or not you want one. Thanks.
And Councillor Dalton, the Mayor's office has asked if we would lead that. So once, I think Miriana will figure out which process it comes through, and so it'll come back to this committee in one way or another. But we don't know the timeline yet of when the submission needs to be in.
Kia ora, thank you for that. I don't know, usually we have a bit of a discussion about it. It's obviously, the bill itself is not quite complex, but perhaps the understanding of the treaty might be, and how we can get that communicated around the governing body in a workshop, I would say. I'm not sure how long it's going to be open for submissions.
Through the chair, I mean, I have heard of like 6 months, so a long period. I say that still without it going to the select committee yet. So again, a little bit unclear. So again, maybe through you and the chair, we can just work out a process for that to happen, or for your decision to be made.
And if we can't find workshop time, we can have a Monday briefing together or something like that. I'm sure there's a way to do that. Kia ora. Sorry, it's on topic, but slightly slightly off the paper. But Councillor Leone.
Yeah, kia ora korua. Congratulations on the report. It's amazing. You've done a great job, and to get a really minimal amount regarding the underspend up, so that's been awesome. Also to hear that the videos are going to go out. Looking forward to that. I just wanted to ask with regards to the report being completed, and specifically the fund that goes out for marae. Are we doing anything once the report's completed to kind of do any good news stories on that in particular?
Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Yes, over the next 6 months in particular, a big uptick in good news stories will be going out on Māori outcomes, engaging with mana whenua and Mata Waka to promote a lot of the work that they're doing with us and the successes that we've had in that space.
Thank you. And the only other follow-up question I had was, I know that we tend to have quite a lot of opportunities to go out and see our infrastructure projects, but I know that in the past, I've just thought about whether there might be a possibility to invite councillors to come out and see some of the, marae developments that have occurred, whether that could be considered in the future.
Through the chair, yes, we'll take that back to the relevant staff.
Kia ora, thanks, Councillor. And just if the comms team, well, Councillor Leone, if the comms team haven't been in touch yet, Councillor Dalton suggested that you lead on that as well. So we'll do a little Auckland story after this for this. Are there any other questions? Oh, Member Ashby.
Kia ora, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. Good to see you both. Just a couple from me. One is, I guess I'm focusing on the review. Or maybe I'll start actually with, it's good to see the underspend narrowing. So that's really great news. And so first question is, how do we continue that trend? What strategies do you guys have in place? What types of things do you have in place to carry that one on? Then I've got two other quick questions.
I'll ask my colleague Richard Cord, who's online, to answer that one about the Māori Outcomes Fund.
Kia ora, councillors, through the chair, thank you for the question. So we do have planned expenditure for the Māori Outcomes Fund for not only this year but FY26 and FY27. So teams, delivery teams are very clear as to what is expected and what has been planned. They have the budgets in place. So we do expect that to obviously support better delivery, having that clarity. We will also always look at a sort of mid-year review. So typically it would be during November, that we would ask for any for a sort of refresh of the full year forecast of spend, and if that starts to indicate that we have some underspend arising, we will then proactively look to utilise that, and that's exactly what we did last year to sort of get to that 95%. So we do have those that sort of clarity in place. I hope that answers your question.
Great. Yeah, thank you. The other question was, turning to the review, how will you ensure that the review at its core has the voice of iwi and mātāwaka in it? So will there be direct engagement, and will there be things like pulling out needs from previous long-term plan submissions, for example? Because I think sometimes the needs, and I understand it's a big council, and we've got the money that we've got currently to deal with, and so things can get kind of amalgamated into outcomes, but the problem with that is sometimes they also become generic, and you actually miss what those specific issues are for iwi and mātāwaka communities, like on the ground. They're not always the same. So how do we how do we ensure that that voice, the integrity of that, carries through the review process? I'm really interested in. Thank you.
Kia ora, shall I take that one? So yes, so as part of the review, we are currently combing through all of the LTP submissions. We're also looking at engaging with other departments and CCOs to get a full understanding of what priorities they have sitting in their sort of work programs or on their lists. We will then triangulate that with the emerging issues of significance that we're getting through, I think, as a final form in sort of January, February. So that should sort of give us a good understanding of what priorities are there. We would then intend to come out and just really sort of double check that list with mana whenua and with mātāwaka where possible, always on the understanding that there's continual engagement going on. So so we think that will give us a really good view of the current picture, and then I think we need to just continue those conversations. What are we seeing? What might be emerging priorities that might cause us or cause changes in the future? So I think with that base knowledge, we can then start to look at planning the funding for what is sort of FY27 onwards, where we do have some unallocated Māori outcomes funding. So we should be able to sort of use the time where we don't have unallocated funding to plan for when we do, and then that should hopefully allow us to land some of these priorities.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's all the questions. I will just get you to step back from the table. Thank you very much for all the mahi that's gone in here. I hope that everyone has read the amazing document that kind of shows all those cases and projects and programs that are making massive change. Would you like to speak to this, Councillor Leone? Oh, sorry, caught you in the middle of a cough. Councillor Dalton, Deputy Chair.
Thank you. Just a quick one. Thanks to the team, obviously, for all of the work that you're doing, but in particular, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Leone for leading this and being tenacious and resilient and making sure that this does not get lost. As before, from my perspective, I think politically it has had a higher impact since you have been in the role of leading Māori outcomes. So congratulations, Wahine Toa.
Cool. Sorry, Councillor Leone.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dalton. That's hey, look, I just want to acknowledge the team. I know that there was a lot of pressure in terms of the the underspend previously, and also mihi to Nick and Richard, and the great work that you've done. I know that you're working really, really hard to make sure that those positive stories that are happening for Māori across Tamaki Makaurau in terms of the mahi that you're doing are so important. So really appreciate the work that you've done and really look forward to what will be happening next year as well. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thanks, Councillor Leone. And just, briefly from me, just want to acknowledge the team. Thanks, Marina and Mike, for coming up, and for Richard and Nick and the whole team. I think this has seen a real big step up. I know through COVID and everything, a lot of things dropped away, and you had to regain the resources and often people in the roles to do this work. But there's a phenomenal amount happening right across the organisation and right across Tamaki Makaurau. And I think, it's really, really important that we continue to invest in Māori outcomes. We have seen a lot of whakamā out there. We saw it on the streets yesterday, and concern around government changes. But we are, as Phil Wilson has said, in governing body updates, that we are full steam ahead in this space and celebrating Māori culture and making sure our rangatahi and tamariki see themselves in our city as they grow. So I think this is part of it. We are not the only piece of the puzzle by far. We are a small part, but I think we are showing great leadership right across the council and CCOs. So thank you very much, and also acknowledge Councillor Leone for your work in this space. Right, is there any other speakers? All those in favour? Are there any opposed? Cool, thank you. Move on to item 11. This is status update on decisions. I'll move. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Ferry. All those in favour? Move to the summary of information. Have a mover. Deputy Mayor, seconder, Deputy Chair. All those in favour? Aye. And the consideration of extraordinary items, there is none. Go to another closing karakia at 11:15, if you can believe that. Yeah, I did say that we should have moved the DCs earlier, but that's unfortunately the time. But I'm sure you'll all have plenty of work to do. We can stay on if you want to. Yeah, Councillor. Yeah, we can find some. We can find some other items just for you.
Will you do that?
Cool. Right, kia tau te manaakitanga, ki ronga, ki tina o tātou. Kia piki te ora, kia piki te maramatanga, kia hoki, pai atu, kia hoki, pai mai, tuturu, whakamoa, ka tina, haumie, huie, tai kie. Fastest meeting ever, I think. So, kia ora, we'll have I can promise a much longer one next month. Have a good afternoon, and thank you everyone for being here today.